This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Sean Preston.
Welcome, everybody, to the Good Neighbor Podcast. Today, we have a great neighbor on with us. That is Nancy LeClair of the Other Daughters Senior Care Services. How are you, my dear?
I'm doing well. Thank you. And yourself?
Good. We'll call this the pre-tornado episode since we both got tornado warnings before we decided to start the show. So we'll be glancing out there with those people on video. If we're moving our eyes away from the screen, that's because we're looking out there. And hopefully we'll be able to make it through. Everything works out all right. So
I look out the window and I see something. I'm just letting you know I'm running.
Yeah, just let me know. We'll hit the maybe we'll cut it out, keep the podcast, and do another one. We'll see what happens.
Yes.
A little special episode here, as long as we can do it in a safe environment. We'll keep her going. So we had the opportunity to meet each other briefly at one of the Barrie Chamber After 5 networking events. Had a really nice conversation with you. This is before we were doing the podcasting, and now we have an opportunity to have you on board. So I'm super happy and excited that you're on board and be able to have a little bit more of an in-depth conversation with you. And with that being said, I'm sure the listeners are probably chomping at the bit. So why don't we dive into it? And why don't you tell us a little bit more about your business?
Okay, and I'd love to. And really, the heart and the soul of the Other Daughter is to help individuals and family navigate through the aging journey. There's a lot of paths, and some are confusing and complex, and we're here to help. So let's back up a little bit. I just want to let everyone know what in-home care is. So that's more because it's funny, the awareness is quite low in this area. So in-home care is a personalized one-on-one where somebody comes into your home and they help you at various stages of aging remain at home, being independent, and we like to add the dignity and joy with it. So I guess like a common scenario that I find is it's an adult child or children, and they've been doing the caregiving a lot themselves, and they're either at a point where their parent or parents need more help, and or they're getting overwhelmed, and that's when they'll call us because they need that additional help. So we go in, and the step one is to have an in-home free of charge consultation and care assessment. So we like to go in. I like to go in, and another team member of mine will go in, and we just like to see what's happening and where the help is really needed. And we like to do a little bit more on the consulting part. So it might be a situation that they need more than in care home. So we will help them navigate through that too. But usually it is because the majority of seniors want to remain at home. So a lot of our services can be transportation and a helping hand. So we'll take a person to an appointment. I'm actually going to a course right now with one of my clients. Daily activities of life, the grooming, the bathing, transferring from a wheelchair to your bed. It could be meal preparation and, meal planning. It can be companionship, travel companionship. I've actually went away on weekends with clients, and I've heard that, because that does help the family too. And then everybody can enjoy the holiday. So then those are just basic ones that we offer. And then we always reassess because, as we know, life changes. So that's when really the consulting part comes in, and we go in, and maybe they need home care equipment to help them live at home. And we'll recommend that. Or maybe it's time to look at alternative living, and we'll also help with that. And we specialize, the other daughter specializes in end of life care. So I am a certified end of life doula, which is it's a fairly new field. And what an end of life doula does, it really empowers the person to determine the end of care that they want. It it could be comfort care planning. It could be a living funeral. It could be a living will, which are very important. I'm starting to find out, just to help them at end of life, and families have a better experience, and you provide the emotional care that everyone needs at that point.
And that's such a, I think, important component for people to have. It's talking about death and losing somebody, and knowing that eventually it's going to come or that it might be soon. To put those things into place, to try to help ease that transition, especially when it's not sudden. I think that's important for people, and for people who don't know about it either. I mean, the educational component to it, to say, hey, this is available if you're stressed out and you're caring for somebody. I had somebody on the show fairly recently. Their mother is going through dementia, and it's a lot on them, and they're a business owner and trying to run a business, and having that level of support. And it could be something simple, like you were saying, just having groceries ran for you, or taking them on the weekend because they need a break to recharge their own batteries. I definitely think it's very important. We live far away from our grandmother. She's in a home now, and there was that big struggle with her, and people feel like they're losing their older people when they have to make that decision. If they don't have a level of service like the one that you provide, they think that they're losing their own empowerment, or their own sense of being able to take care for themselves. It's this like really crazy thing that goes through one's mind, of not being able to think that you can take care or have your independence, I guess is the right word for that.
Yes, and not have the choices. There are choices. There's ways of working things out, and I've worked a lot with adult children, and they just need that extra. Like, there's a lot of things actually that they're not aware of that we can help. For example, I'm working with somebody, and his children they live out of Ontario. So I'm kind of the one that's there on a daily basis checking things, and it just gives them more peace of mind that, somebody's coming in and doing what, they at this point can't really give.
Yeah, I definitely think that that's something that's super important for people to know about it, and given that level of care. It just makes everybody more comfortable knowing that there's processes or things that are being put in place to kind of rectify or fix like an issue that's going on, or maybe somebody's been working on, or being kind of felt like they've been stranded on an island for a while, and then realizing that there's some help that's available there. Really help give both parties the quality of life back.
Exactly, and it's two-way. The children, or the main caregiver, needs help almost just as much as the client.
Totally.
So, and that's what we like to provide.
So I'm excited to ask you this question. I come across special people from time to time. Uh, Anybody who does your field are truly, truly very special people, very empathetic, very giving. I got that from you the second I met you. People can already start to see
Thank
on the
you.
show the type of person you are. Really have that aura, that glow around you, and you really, truly do care. So this is a bit, I kind of mix up this question sometimes. It's like going to be like a two-part. So the first part is, where did you find the passion, and how do you keep that passion going, doing what you're doing every day? And secondly, tell our listeners about your journey. How and why are you doing what
Okay.
you're doing, and tie that into the passion.
Yeah, okay. I didn't wake up one day and say, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go into the senior care field. It was actually my mom, who I think you met too at the event. She retired from a family business, and she's quite young and not ready to retire. So a friend actually recommended her, like, she told her, you should become a PSW, you'd be great at it. So that's what my mom did. And I always saw the connections and the wonderful stories she told me about her clients. I've met a few of her clients, and I was quite intrigued with, because this was when it was fairly new, like, so this would have been maybe 20 years ago.
Okay.
So the personal support worker, all this, I had no idea about senior care. But at that time, I had a career in market research, and it was a good career. And honestly, when was it? 2010, I was going to go down this road, but then I was offered quite a nice job in Toronto, and I decided to take that offer, and it was safe, to be honest. Then starting a new business in a field I really didn't know much about. So I did, and but I was still intrigued. So while I worked full time, I went to George Brown College for 2 years, night school, and took the PSW course.
Oh,
Because
wow.
I thought, well, you know what, it'd be great to do part time, and it's rewarding. So after I was done, I started my placement. So I was on the front line, and those wonderful stories, well, I was starting to see some not wonderful stories. And that experience really impacted me. So that's when I decided to do a 180 in my career, and the other daughter was born. So a drastic career change. So I went from corporate market researcher to, strategic care planner and a consultant on aging. I have a designation for that, and end of life doula. So, and the transition was bumpy. It wasn't easy, but I have not regretted it one moment.
And so, kind of, what was it in the about the PSW role that kind of started igniting this passion where you got super, into it and then decided to take night school? What was it about the PSW role?
Well, it wasn't until after I took the night school, because and I knew the dynamics. Being a researcher, you look at trends, and I knew the aging trend, and reading more up about that, I'm like, wow, this is this is going to be quite the tidal wave at one point. And but it wasn't until I was done and I was in field working, and it was the people that I was caring for. It was the gaps in the markets. It was not liking what I was seeing. And my tagline is creating a world we all want to age into. I wanted to make a difference. I still want to make a difference. Shouldn't say that. And I will make a difference.
And you certainly are. And we're really happy to be able to help assist you along the way with that as well. Thank you for sharing that lovely story. It's always interesting to find out how people, sometimes it's like yours where you're doing something else and all of a sudden things happen in life and another door opens, you walk through that door. And other times I've had guests on the show where it's the same. Yeah, I was born to do this. I woke up doing this. I'm still doing it, and so on and so forth. So really unique from that perspective. When it comes to senior home care, are there any like myths or misconceptions in your line of work?
Yes, there's a few. One is people think that there's going to be help out there. And there's help, but it might not be what you're expecting. The home community care services, they're struggling to keep up with demand, and they can only do basically personal care. There's waiting lists for long-term care facilities. People don't know that there's not a lot of options out there. And even if you do get home community care, it might not be what you want when you want. Unfortunately, what happens, what I see a lot, and like I said, I've been researching this industry from day one.
Right.
People aren't proactive when it comes to care. People don't want to talk about it. It's an awkward situation. So because people are proactive, then it becomes a crisis, because usually when people call me, they needed somebody probably months ago, and then finding somebody. So, and another misconception is, I think the way people look at personal support workers, that role, some view it in a negative way, and people shouldn't, they're looked, I guess, down the chain when you look at, healthcare professionals.
Right.
But if you think about it, they're really the backbone of the aging industry, whether it be in home or long-term care facilities. It's the PSWs that basically run all that. So that's a pretty highly significant role if you think about it. And there's a lot of perks to being a PSW. You can make sometimes your own a schedule. Like I said, I've traveled with, in the relationships that you can build and the reward of the job. You really feel like you help people, and you're helping in such a beautiful way.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
helping people is one of the greatest rewards, greatest feelings that you get when you can help another human being. I remember when I was, I think, 18 years old, I got this, my first kind of real big gig. I was an inside sales rep for a company here locally, and I had to jump through hoops to get this job. It was a bilingual job, so having the French
oh,
certainly helped, but I took this personality test. And in this test, the results that came back, and I'll always remember one of the main takeaways was that I need to be helping people. If I'm helping people, I'm generally speaking a more happy human being. And that's what kind of gets me rolled out of bed. And so I would imagine that's obviously the same with you on your side of the fence, when you can see the joy, when you can see all the effort that you just put in, and then getting that reciprocated back in a form of positive emotion. That's what gets you going, right?
mhm. Yeah, it does.
So when you're out there, so obviously being a business owner, you get a lot of responsibilities,
Mhm.
having to wear multiple
Yes.
hats, all that fun jazz that we all know about. And it takes a lot, but there's got to be a harmony that's in there. We can't just only work or only dedicate our time to others. Having that harmony and being able to find that uh, between having fun and then working obviously on and in the business. So when you're not doing that, when you're not helping others, caregiving, and it's your own personal Nancy time, what does Nancy like to do for fun?
Okay, anyone that knows me, I love to and dance, sing and dance to ABBA because, oh, yeah, no, and you know what? That's top of mind because I went to a dinner show recently in Toronto,
Okay.
Dancing Queen. So, I love to have fun. I love new adventures. I backpacked for about 3 years when I
Really?
was younger, and I just, I love that. Now I don't travel that much. That's okay. One day I will again. But I love that, just going to a new country and not knowing where you were going or what you were going to do, and just meeting new people and spontaneous, adventurous. And of course, anything outdoors. And I live in a great place in Innisfil that has a lot of outdoor time. So I enjoy that. And, meeting new people and just family, friends, and food. I'm a foodie. Does that count?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a foodie
Yeah,
myself too.
I like food.
We can crack this wide open here. So keep going. Let's talk about food. I could talk about this all day. So are you
Yeah.
you got a preference on, the type of culinary experience you're looking for, type of food from around the globe? Is it European style? Are we into chicken and steak? Are you into fish? Are we into Asian food?
Well,
What do we like to cook? What do we like to eat?
my background is Italian, part Italian, so I love anything Italian, and I do make a pretty good sauce. I
Oh,
was voted the best in the family after my grandmother passed away, so that was an honor.
oh,
I'll work after that.
phenomenal.
Yeah, and my birthday is May 5th, so of course, anything Mexican.
Nice.
And I lived in Dallas for a while, so I love Mexican food too.
Yeah, yeah, they got some. They know what they're doing down there for sure.
Oh
My
yeah.
my sister, my middle sister, is a Mexican food addict. She would have that probably every day if she could. Just
Yeah.
loves it, and we enjoy it in our household as well too. But I want to touch on that sauce because I've been to Italy and I've had the real deal, and there is a lot that goes into making a good sauce. A lot of TLC needs to be happening
Yes.
and reducing that sucker down. All of the right ingredients, they all need to kind of come together. What you do before, pre-cooking some stuff before you put it in. My dad makes a decent sauce, but then I went to Italy and it's just, I hope he's not listening to this episode because, I opted to choose my significant other's sauce at this point. She does a pretty good job.
Oh, does she? Good.
Do you have like a
Yeah,
little
there's
maybe
things in
secret you
there
could
that you
kind of?
wouldn't really know. Yeah, but it's a family secret.
Okay, I was gonna say, is there like one nugget you could maybe give us on the show to what goes into making a good sauce without giving it away?
It's the meats, the variety of meats. No,
Oh,
there's a lot. And you have to cook it for a good day. Like, yeah.
very nice. Very nice. Um, Thank you for sharing that. I could talk about it all day, but we'll keep moving forward here.
Okay.
We'll switch it up a little bit, maybe talk a little bit more on the serious side. Sometimes in life, we pick a path. We think that's the right path according to our goals, what we're looking to achieve in life, and then we head down there. And as most of us listening to the show knows, it never really happens exactly how we set it out because life will throw a wrench in the gearbox or it'll push and pull you, put you on a different path. You don't even get to pick. Sometimes tragedies happen. Other times it's an immovable object and you have a crazy life challenge. You got to climb that mountain. And, it's
Mhm.
always uh, the resilience of human beings has been a curious cat on how people are able to overcome challenges, find the silver linings, how they hang on to hope and move forward. Because really, frankly, we don't really have a choice, and there is a way to go about it. I mean, some people kind of fold, and then others will kind of rise above that. And so, I wanted to ask you if you've ever experienced a hardship in life, a challenge, life challenge that you've overcame, maybe made you better, maybe made you stronger, maybe some silver linings from that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, honestly, I've had a few, and the starting over part, but honestly, my journey here was a bit of a struggle. So when I decided to go into the senior care industry, I had a great job in market research, financial and interesting, and there's a lot of opportunities. And I was living in Toronto, so my income decreased significantly because I had to start from like the front line. I had to start working for an agency, and then I did work in a hospital. So, but my expenses actually increased. So that was, a challenge. And there is a lot to think about when you're starting a business. And maybe because I do have a bit of a business and advertising background, I maybe was more diligent about certain things and like the business plan, and then you're going through, and then COVID happens. So I was going to start the business before COVID, and then that happened, and my gut felt like this isn't a good time to launch a new business in this field, because my thought was being a new business and going in, no fault from anybody's, but if somebody was sick, it would have been very overwhelming, to think of that. And I know even companies that were already in the market and for a while, they really struggled through this period of time.
Right.
So then during COVID, and I started losing motivation, and not motivation, I'd say, but um, you just, I guess fear started creeping up again because and then going back and forth. And yeah, it's in even still now, a new business and not getting much support. And I'm older, so it wasn't like I was younger. I decided to do this at an older age. That's all I'll say, a more mature age. So it was a bit scary, but it really helped me become more resourceful, tenacious. Things that you used to stress me out before. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like probably this, like a podcast, but no. But I'm just, that a lot of fear is. I still have a bit of fear. I'm not saying that. I'm not completely fearless, but just that stress part. Now it's more what would have stressed me out is more bring it on. I'll figure it out. You get to that point where you're like, yeah, I've done this. I played this game, right?
Isn't that a pretty cool silver lining? How us as human beings, we feel like there's this barrier above us until we punch through that barrier and then realize, oh my God, I can do that. If I can do that once, I can do it again. And next thing you know, you keep going down the line and you look back, because we don't often take the time to look back. I just talked about this with the last guest we had on the show, and the importance of that. And then when you see how far you've come, that really gives you a lot of confidence to continue to move forward.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I have to say, certainly had that kind of similar experience that you had from the financial component to it. I worked for a company for about 9 years, and COVID happened, and companies do what they feel is right. How they deliver and make those changes could be up for debate. But I had my boss at the time come and shave half my income in a 5-minute conversation. He told me I didn't deserve to have the other half, even though I helped build it,
Oh,
manage that person. It just, crazy stuff. And then, that company's not even around anymore. So I just watched everything I built for 9 years just go down and
oh,
down and down until you have absolutely nothing. And I mean, you get fortunate that you have a support circle around you. My parents were very important in keeping me on my 2 feet, and TD Bank loves me, but you manage to do what you need to do to keep yourself on your feet. But like you, the tenacious, component of saying, hey, we're going to make it work. And you have your ups and your downs and your good days and your bad days. But if you
yeah.
believe in the process and you believe in yourself, you can really achieve anything that you want. And then you finally get to the point where you're at now, you can look back at that. I feel the same. I can do the same thing and see how far you come. And then you look forward and you realize that, wow, I can still go higher than that and strive to reach as high as you can.
Yes.
Beautiful thing.
Yeah. And I do. I like those continuous challenges. And what next? Like you accomplish one area and then it's like, oh, and in this industry, there is so much that really like you have to kind of put your feet down and say, okay, because your mind just goes and but you master one thing and then you see what else you can do to help.
What's one thing that you wish our listeners knew about your business?
Well, again, I think it's that we are here to help. And with any situation, it is overwhelming. I've spent years, like 10 plus years, and I'm still researching and cooking up new ideas. Um, there's not enough driven solutions in this area and or out of the box thinking. And that's one thing that I'm really working on now is to make it more accessible for more people to live a better life, a more independent life. Um, yeah, and I come up with plans and care plans, and I'd like to walk people through it and just that build that awareness. Like know that you're not alone because a lot of people feel very isolated. I know that there's help, and even if it's through government, I try to consult on, like even creating a family plan. Like, okay, who can give this amount of time? Who can give this amount of time? Just that there's solutions, and we're here to help.
Yeah, sometimes a third person or an extra voice, you take in family dynamic and some people more selfish than others, others more empathetic than others. You have all these different dynamics within any given family, and sometimes it's hard for them to just kind of figure it out. I would imagine and personally feel about that. So, that's nice. You get an opportunity to kind of sit down and get rid of some of the chaos, and instill a little bit of order, and give people, little tasks that are manageable, and just make them a little bit more of a well-oiled machine so that everybody can have a better quality of life.
Exactly. And I do have experience as a life coach too. And for one example, a lady I met, it was her mom, and she had younger children, and just life was very overwhelmed. And by the end of our conversation, we had just met, she was crying and hugging me. Like, what a better feeling is that? Just because somebody understood what she was going through, what she was experiencing. And in a level, because I'm not in it, I'm outside, so I can tell you, okay, well, these are, a few suggestions that you can consider. Just letting coming up with the ideas, giving them the peace of mind again that there's options, or have you looked at this, or maybe you could look at this. Because it can be a difficult time for people. And again, like I said, nobody's proactive, it's all reactive.
Right.
So when they're reaching out for help, like I said, it's probably months that they needed it.
Right. So pre-planning would be a message that you probably would want the listeners.
Everybody, yeah, yes. It helps down the road. Just to know what you do with the what if scenarios, because life can change at any day for anyone.
Yeah.
Right? 100%. Yeah.
Okay, so for anybody who's listening to the show, maybe they're interested, wanting to know a little bit more or get in touch with you, what would be one of the best ways that they can go ahead and do that?
Okay, well, the best is probably calling or email. So to call me, 705-770-6932, or send me an email, LeClair, LeClair, at theotherdaughter.ca. Or you can visit my website at www.theotherdaughter.ca to get some more information. But because everything's unique and everybody's wants and needs and preferences are all different, it's best for us to kind of consult, or for me to consult and see where everybody's at and see what we can do for you.
100%. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show. Absolutely a pleasure to have you on, get to know you as a person, get to know your business. Yeah, you are doing wonderful work out there. Really happy to have you out there. Really happy to spread your message, and hopefully we get to do this down the line sometime.
Yes, and thank you for having me on and letting me showcase. It's now I can reach more people that way and build that awareness that is lacking in the industry. So thank you very much.
You are more than welcome. Happy to do so. And we'll hopefully see you at some of our networking events as well, too.
You will.
All right. Have a good rest of your day.
You too.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast Midhurst. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpmidhurst.com. That's gnpmidhurst.com, or call 705-413-3775.